Create International is a ministry of youth with a mission, and it's a media ministry that is deeply committed to frontier missions. We always produce our projects in partnership with other missionaries or other Christians who are also committed to seeing a people group reached. As we have developed a good list of projects that we have done, people have become aware of us as guys who are, able to do this sort of work, and they've recognized by seeing other videos like, wow, we need this for my people group. We need an evangelistic film that will tell the story of our people or share the gospel with our people. We need a people profile on video that will help to raise awareness and raise prayer and other things. We need photographs, we need websites, stuff like that. Let's see how we can work together to do this. So it's really a partnership, and we call them our project partners. And we work closely with those guys to produce the kinds of projects that are really going to be useful for their work. Once we have decided that we're actually going to do a project, and we as a Create International leadership have prayed over it and know that this is right for us to do. Once we've worked out timing, when is the best time, also the human resources that are available, on-field assistants who can help our team to come in and do the work that we've been asked to do. I guess really what needs to happen is research and script writing are the two main things. Our heart is really to not just write the same script about Jesus every time, but to find the approach to sharing the gospel that is going to be the most effective for this particular people, depending on their culture, their religious experience. Now, along with the research comes the prayer, is asking God, here's all the information, now what do you want us to do? Give us your inspiration, show us how we should take this forward. And from there really is script writing. Now, sometimes the script writing is just based on our own research and our own prayer, but oftentimes the project partners or the people they're working with have their own ideas, and we'll take whatever that idea is or whatever the script is and work with it, go back and forth until we're arrived at something that we're really happy with, which is that it will communicate the gospel to the people who watch it. By the time we get to the field, hopefully, we have the majority of our script work for the evangelistic film done. However, often that is not the case. So sometimes when we get there, the first thing we do is we'll still sit down with our advisors, and we'll sit with them and we'll go through everything. All the story points, all of the spiritual presentation of the gospel, and we'll do whatever revision we need to finalize the script. And then that needs to be translated. And while that's happening, we'll often be involved in, say, scouting locations, finding our actors. It's not really how you imagine films are normally made. There's not all this preparation time that we really have, but it's really like running with the project. We often don't have much time to do it. Instead of saying, let's look at what we can't do, let's do what we can do and put together a story that's going to be meaningful for the people who are going to watch it. And then once we have our actors, we've got our locations, and we've got our script in the appropriate language, we often will just jump right into shooting it. So we'd have a few lights set up. We would have one normally, and sometimes two, and on rare occasions 3 cameras set up. You'd have a microphone, often on a big long pole, which is called a boom. You would have all of your actors all in position, and you'd have several people from our crew working to make sure that their costumes and to a lesser degree their makeup is all done correctly. You would have myself or whoever is directing the project, possibly standing amongst everything, moving back and forth a lot, giving instructions to make sure that everyone is doing what they need to do. Of course, you have your camera people. You'd usually have a monitor set up off camera somewhere. You'd have people who are keeping track of what shots we were doing, keeping track of the continuity of the set. You may have translators around who are helping you to relate, to the people in the right language. You may have cultural advisors as well, who are making sure that everything you're doing is looking correct. It's looking like it should look in that culture. Now, that may sound like we've got about 100 people on the set, but really, other than maybe the extras who are there for church, you might be talking at most 15 or 20 individuals covering all of those jobs. Over the last number of years, Create International has been involved in producing what is for us still a new type of video. We've been calling them a contextual gathering or contextual fellowship video. As a result, what this has meant is we have added on more types of work, and that's quite a big leap when you add that one in there. because like the evangelistic film, it involves a whole process of directing a story. Very different type of story, but still a story in terms of working with actors and creating characters and having them go through a process. Still dealing with the issues of whether this means sending several teams out that are operating at the same time but are really operating in different teams, or just being more geared up for the longer haul when we do go out. Well, there is of course a world of challenges and sometimes obstacles to overcome in the process of producing these videos. One of the biggest issues is noise. You're in an uncontrolled environment usually, and there's all sorts of sound issues that come into play. In some situations you're dealing with obstacles related to electricity. Either you're in a village that doesn't have electricity or has very little. Sickness is also something that we had to deal with, either our own sickness or sometimes sickness of actors as well. Depending on the location that we're in, there's also just issues that come up. You are foreigners, and especially if you pull out cameras and microphones and that sort of stuff, you just instantly draw a crowd. Whereas in other places, the kind of work we're doing would really be looked down upon by the local authorities. They would not be happy with people coming in to create something that would actually share Jesus with the people, and so there's security issues to work through. But there is a range of challenges, and God has never failed to show us ways to deal with them, to either be creative with the way that we are filming or to be creative with our stories. But the challenges are, they bring life to the project in a way. Keep it from being boring and keep you on your toes, really, spiritually speaking. Our team comes back to Perth, where we have our editing suites and our post-production facilities. And we will have different people involved in the whole process of editing and doing the post-production for these videos. Our people profiles are usually also heavier in terms of graphic effects and that sort of a thing, so that is a whole time-consuming thing as well, as people will develop visual and graphic motifs that will be used to help supplement the story that we're trying to tell. That usually takes far longer than the actual shooting process does. The only way that it's possible for a team like ours to go and to produce any sort of presentation that is of any use to God is because of God's blessing, because of God's anointing, God's help. And we're going to try our very hardest to do it. And we're going to keep praying and keep worshiping and keep asking God all along the way. And that's just God. It's just God being faithful. I think it's really out of the fact that God really, really loves these people, really wants to see videos made that are going to be used to impact them. They're going to be used to help lead people to worshiping Him. And He loves a team of people who are willing to actually step out and do what He calls us to do. All the credit for this goes to the Lord.